First of all, before I almost certainly will forget, I have received 4 letters this morning from 4 different county farm bureaus in North Dakota that I'd like to admit to the record if that's okay.
Without objection, they'll be made a part of the record.
I need to get very clear something that I heard, I think I heard anyway, during the chairman's questioning, and let me ask you the question this way. Do you believe that the law allows the EPA to intercept this committee's questions to the advisory board and or somehow regulate their answers back to us? Do you believe that the law allows that?
What I believe is that the committee's processes and the SAB's processes need to both be protected in a way that there's a structured approach to how we interact. And we are working, we want to do that, and we want to have these employees of the federal government to have a knowledge on how they would go about, what the process they would go through. So I'm comfortable with just saying, let's get that worked out. We're working hard to do that, and I have high confidence we will.
Oh, okay. I can appreciate what you want, and as you said, the chairman, how you feel. That's all fun stuff for a social scientist. But we're talking about hard science and the law, the letter of the law. Do you believe the law allows you to intercept the questions from this committee to the Science Advisory Board? I believe it does not, but
well, we have provided all the correspondence that you've given us to the Science Advisory Board.
I think the correspondence was to the Science Advisory Board, and that's the point, is that you have it, not the Science Advisory Board, or that you
somehow they're employees,
screen it before it goes to them. All right. We're not going to get anywhere in that one. The EPA and the Corps keep talking about the need for clarity, and quite frankly, from my perspective, the clarity you seek is more permission, not clarity. I think, to me, it's every bit as clear today as it's ever been what your jurisdiction is, and more importantly, what it is not. It seems to me you're seeking permission, not clarity, because as I read the rule, and I don't see, or the proposed rule, I don't see it being clear at all. And one of the areas that concerns me the most is this reference to other waters and the definition of other waters. Other waters is so open-ended as to create ambiguity, not clarity, in my view. Can you explain why there need to be a category called other waters?
The existing regulations that are on the books use a very general test that's oriented toward whether there's a effect on interstate commerce or a potential effect on interstate commerce, which is not a science-based test, and it's not in adherence with what the Supreme Court laid out in their decisions in the last decade. And so what we're trying to do, and again, I'm totally open to the fact that we may not be achieving what we're setting out to do here, is take what the Supreme Court has said, is that you've got to move away from this sort of general thing, because under the existing regulation, it's much more open-ended as to what a field technician could decide might have an effect on interstate commerce, not that a biologist is an expert in that matter, as you might agree with me on.
Sure.
So what we're trying to do is get it back to sort of a science-based science of hydrology. So we have, in most cases, and I promise to get to the others in a minute, we've tried to define normal hydrologic features that a good, normal, science-oriented field technician can figure out. There are other places that have those characteristics that have this other issue that has to be dealt with, whether they're connected or not. And this is the other issue that the Supreme Court asks us to try to deal with. And so what we do in this, under the current regulation, they're all case by case. Under this one, we're trying to define an approach that we would take, whether it's a watershed approach or an ecological approach, and we ask for comment on that. And we have to get to the point where we really understand how anything that has characteristics of being water, like a standing water or a wetland, and how we go about dealing with that, as opposed to case by case. So I'm with you that we need to define that better. We think we got to most of the stuff in this rule, but that one we're still asking questions on.
Okay, I guess this will be my final question, at least for now. The EPA has stated that it's consulted with the states. How's that coming along? Are a lot of states jumping on board with this rule? Or how many of them support it? Have you heard from any that have concerns about it? What's the status of the support of the states?
So a couple of things on that. First of all, in our own Supreme Court filings back in the middle of the last decade, 35 states were amicus with us in the Supreme Court, specifically. Currently, about, and I can provide this for the record.
That would be good.
Probably a number of individual states and most of the state organizations, including the State Association of Ag Directors and what, have asked us to do a rulemaking. So we have a lot of states saying do a rulemaking, a lot of states supporting us in front of the Supreme Court, and now what we have is a proposal out there, and we have a process going on with a number of those state organizations, including the Environmental Council of the States, the State Environmental Commissioners. Just last week, I was in Denver. I met with the ag directors, including from North Dakota, and the state environmental commissioners. Getting their input has been very informative to me, according to the things that I was just mentioning, where I know we need to do more work. So we will not get this rule finalized without having a defined process with our co-regulators, the states, between now and then, and we have ample evidence beforehand of them asking us to do a rulemaking.
Yeah, doing a rulemaking and the outcome of the rulemaking are two very different things. My time is expired.
I thank the